welcome everyone. I don't know what happened there, but welcome everyone to Sysco's Virtual Kitchen Healthcare and Senior Living Edition. I am going to introduce Christine Romano. Christine, I'm going to pass this over to you, and welcome to the show, everybody. Maple Leaf is in the house again, and we're excited to have them. Christine, over to you.
Thanks, Jay. I'm Christine Romano, Healthcare and Senior Living Marketing Lead for Sysco Canada. So welcome to the Healthcare and Senior Living edition of our show today. Joining us, we have Maple Leaf in the house. We have Vanda Ricchetti, a registered dietitian, and Chef James Keppy. And they're here to talk today about incorporating plant-based proteins into the healthcare menus. Welcome, Vanda and Chef James.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
So Vanda, maybe you can start with why this is an important topic for healthcare.
For sure, Christine, thanks. We're super pleased to be here this morning. I just want to have a little sort of introduction to why this has become an important topic for healthcare specifically. As we all know, Canada's Food Guide has been used as a guideline for menu planning in healthcare facilities for years to ensure the basic elements of nutrition are provided within the framework of what's being served. So currently, with recent revisions to the Canada's Food Guide, there's very specific and clear messaging to choose protein foods that come from plants more often. And this essentially has brought the plant-based protein food category to the forefront of the Canadian healthcare landscape. So what exactly is a plant-based protein? If in very generic terms, it is a protein-rich food that does not come from an animal. Very loose and generic and very simple. So foods like pea, soy, lentils, black beans, chickpeas, they all contain certain amounts of protein that are higher than things like zucchini or corn or what you would classify as a vegetable. In addition to that, now there's a third layer of the new kid on the protein block, meat substitutes, also more technically known as meat analogs. So essentially, these products are made to look like meat, and their protein content is similar to meat. So these meat substitutes, just as a side note, they are also required by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to be fortified with certain vitamins and minerals to make them what's known as a complete protein. So that's a little bit of the background about why healthcare facilities are beginning to examine ways to incorporate plant-based plant-based proteins onto their menu. Maple Leaf provides our plant-based protein under two brands, Field Roast and Lightlife, two of which we're going to look at products that I personally think fit very easily into any healthcare menu under those two brands.
Okay, so I guess we'll take a look at the first one today.
Hang on, Chef. Christine, can you are you having mic problems, Christine?
No, I should be fine.
Okay, just to hold up a bit there, Chef. I'll talk a little bit about other reasons why you would put a plant-based product onto your menu. Essentially, for long-term care and healthcare or acute care facilities, at points, depending on where you live and the type of clientele you serve, you may be compelled to have offered vegetarian items for religious or cultural reasons. A new reason that's becoming more on the rise as Canadians adopt a vegan lifestyle, the reason for that is the story behind it with regards to sustainability. Plant-based products can use less water, produce fewer greenhouse gas emissions, and produce less waste byproducts. Maple Leaf is extremely proud to be the first major food company in the world to become carbon neutral as part of our quest to become the most sustainable protein company in the world. We're very proud of this accomplishment. Details can be found on our website, but the sustainability story behind plant-based proteins is another reason why they're coming to the forefront in Canadian menu planning for healthcare as well as consumer tendency.
So Vanda, as a dietitian, where do you start when incorporating plant-based within menus?
Well, essentially, when you start planning a menu, you typically start with the center of the plate, the meat or meat protein that you're serving, and you sort of fill in the rest of the plate around that. This is where the expenses and the really important macronutrient that we're talking about today, protein, is provided typically in the center of the plate. And that's kind of why you start there. So typically a meal protein target is set depending on the framework of your menu planning. And that can be anywhere from 10 to 20 grams depending of protein per that meal, depending on what else is being served, what meal time it is. But for the simplicity in this discussion, let's use a target of 15 grams of protein as your minimum meal target for protein content that you're serving. So if you use a plant-based protein product like beans or chickpeas or lentils, the problem lies in hitting that protein target, which is probably most easiest explained by looking at a plate. So Jay, if you could please pull up the first slide. Okay, so what we have pictured here is a cup of canned beans on the right-hand side, which would provide 16 grams of protein. Great, you're hitting your target. And on the opposite side is 60 grams of our plant-based Italian crumble, which will provide you with 17 grams of protein. Now, just visually looking at these plates, you can see if you're a senior in a long-term care facility, the black bean plate, while it provides 16 grams of protein, is overwhelming. That's a lot of an unfamiliar product on a plate for someone in senior living or in hospital even. That becomes a rather overwhelming amount of bean products on a plate. As you can imagine, especially in long-term care, it doesn't look familiar. It's not an item seniors typically will consume. There's likely some digestion issues with the skin being provided back of the house or in the kitchen. It's more difficult to mince and it's more difficult to puree. And when you look at our plant-based meat substitute, which this one is an Italian crumble, it looks very familiar. It is already minced and would be very easy to puree. So pictorially speaking, that's where the challenge comes when you're using a plant-based product or versus actual plant-based proteins. So to introduce this, we're going to look at two products today that I feel can easily be incorporated into any menu. So Jay, if you could pull up the second slide. Thank you. Okay, so our first product is Lightlife grounds. If a customer says to me, hey, Vanda, how do I start with plant-based proteins? This is where I direct them. This product is gluten-free, soy-free, allergen-free. It's made in Canada, which is also part of the sustainable plant-based story that segments are looking to talk about. Chef is going to show us exactly how easy it is to use, but there are 12 grams of protein per 60 grams, which is not a huge portion. There's only 312 milligrams of sodium. Of course, there's a lot less saturated fat, and there's also 2.1 grams of fiber. So as a dietitian working for a meat company, I never get to talk about fiber. So this is kind of fun to be able to say that there's also some fiber provided in this excellent plant-based product. So I'm going to turn it over to Chef now, and he's going to show you just how easy this is to use.
Okay, thank you, Vanda. So the Italian crumble, this product again, it's made up of items that you can find down your grocery store aisle. I mean, like there's a stronger fennel flavor to it, but it's garlic, onion, peppers, eggplant. The whole thing is ground and cooked together and shredded back out again. But you end up with a fully cooked product that you're working with. So we're just going to take a look at it. If we can switch over to the other camera here. Okay, we're just going to come in a little bit closer. So this is the Italian crumble as a package. It comes frozen. And just to show you how easy it is to work with, we're going to open this up. And while it's firm right here, it's going to break right apart. It breaks down into a crumble very easily. So right here and now, this product can be consumed. It has a nice firmness to it. It's very, very moist and tender. So it could top a salad. It could go into a wrap or something, even at this cold place right now. What we're going to do with this is actually make a really quick chili just to show you how easy it is to work with. And we're just going to switch over to the other side here. And if we come in, I've just got some onions and some kidney beans started there. We're going to add in this crumble to it, and then we're going to add in some canned diced tomatoes. And we're going to add in a little bit of chili powder. Now, the Italian seasoning already has a flavor to it, and it's ready to go. But we want to have a little bit of chili to finish that off. So that right now is just going to simmer down, and just so you can see through the magic of television, there's your chili right there, ready to go. It's actually a vegan chili right now, but it has the texture of a regular beef chili, and no one's actually going to be able to tell the difference on it right there. So you're going to end up with a beautiful chili dish right like that. It's going to sit and stay, and it's not going to break down anymore. It's going to stay nice and firm, but you're going to be able to do that every time you want to. And because this is retirement and long-term care, you can adjust the amount of seasoning you put to this. So it doesn't have to be a spicy chili. It can be a much lighter chili. So that's just one dish. Another thing that you can do with it, obviously, is if you're doing something like a mac and cheese, and I'm just going to show you a finished plate here. You can bake off your regular mac and cheese and top it with an Italian crumble. So this can actually go into the oven, put the Italian crumble on the top of it, and you're getting extra protein on top of what you're already having. It still looks familiar. It's got a great flavor. It's gonna stay. The smaller pieces are easier to put onto a fork and finish, and you're going to end up with a great dish right there. One more way we want to sort of show this, and this is from speaking with Vanda a lot about getting the protein up on the plate. It doesn't have to be at the center of the plate to do that. So what you can do is if you've got your green beans cooking up, you put some garlic and some butter in there, add in a little bit of red pepper, and let that saute up. And then you take that same Italian crumble and you mix it in. And this dish could have been on everybody's Thanksgiving plate just the other day. So it's taking the place of bacon, if you'd like, for that reason. So you end up with a nice Italian-looking dish with the crumble added in, and you're adding the protein onto your meal. So it's just another way to look at that. And Vanda, it does become a concern, right, Vanda, to get the right amount of protein?
Absolutely. A lot of studies and research have shown that in particular long-term care and actually some hospitals, the amount of protein provided to residents is actually lower than it should be on many menus, especially when you migrate to provinces where the menus aren't regulated, and that can become a lot looser in terms of what's being served. So protein is always of utmost importance in ensuring that there is provision of adequate amounts for the clientele that you're serving, be it long-term care residents, acute care residents, and even in retirement as well.
Yeah. So even if, again, where we talk about this being a vegan dish, I don't consider it that being the strongest feature of this. It has a lot of flavor. It has a lot of texture. It can just become a dish on the menu. What we talked about in past events, we are looking at flexitarianism, which again is blending together vegetarian, vegan, and plant and meat eaters, just sort of breaking it down, having a few more plant meals in the week. So this is an easy way to have a plant meal and not have to take any of the sacrifice of flavor or texture. It's a phenomenal product. This will work on top of pizzas and on flatbreads. It'll work into wraps. You could even bake this off a little bit, and you could actually make a Caesar salad with it and use this in place of the bacon. So there's a lot of places a product like this can be used. It's not a one-trick pony. There's a lot of ways to use this product.
So just to sort of touch on what Chef said in the mac and cheese example, typically mac and cheese will contain anywhere between 10 to 13 grams per cup of a portion, depending on course. If you're getting it pre-made, you're making it yourself, how much cheese is in the recipe, to add 1 tablespoon of crumble, just a simple 1 tablespoon on the top of the serving. That adds 4 grams of protein, and now what you're providing is 17 grams instead of 13. We all serve people who are frail, having trouble with appetite. These are the residents, patients that are most concerned to ensuring we provide enough protein on the plates for them. So this Italian crumble product is also a great, what I call fortifier, that you can add to a soup or add to mac and cheese or add to actually anything to boost that protein content, so that there are adequate amounts of protein provided, especially with the immunocompromised and the frail elderly that are being served in healthcare facilities. Just to backtrack a little bit about this product, it is made with ingredients like fennel, eggplant, for a beautiful flavor profile. So again, there isn't that element of what is this when sometimes serving chickpeas, beans, or lentils. This is it looks exactly like something, has the flavor profile of what residents or patients would expect when they go to consume a meal. So there's definitely that added. This particular crumble product has 17.4 grams of protein per 60 gram serving. So it's a very protein-packed product in a relatively small amount. 60 grams is not a huge amount for anyone to consume. There's 360 milligrams of sodium per that 60 grams, so it certainly is not an over salted, over sodium product. And there's also 3.3 grams of fiber per 60 gram serving. So it really is a great way to either create a center of the plate product or boost the protein content or become a fortifier in other menu applications. So that was... Yes.
Sorry. You mentioned its use predominantly within long-term care, but I'm wondering, how would plant-based products fit within a retirement setting, and can these products be used within acute care?
Okay, so to start with retirement, what's great about these plant-based products is the story behind them, in that they're sustainable, they're trendy. A lot of retirement facilities are looking for an edge, looking to try to be avant-garde. They're trying to find something different to serve to their clientele. The story behind sustainability and the story behind being trendy, they can resonate with what they see in the media in terms of the plant-based phenomenon that's in the restaurant industry and even within grocery stores. So those products on the retirement side definitely are a trendy item, and plus the sustainability story behind it that retirement facilities are looking for. Just to backtrack a little bit, I did introduce the Lightlife Grounds product, which is quite honestly another simple, easy way to incorporate plant-based into your menu. I'm going to just hand that back to Chef so that he can go through how the plant-based Lightlife Grounds product can be used in healthcare menus. And then I'll address your acute care question, Christine, once Chef's done his thing.
Perfect, thank you.
So if we look at the Lightlife Grounds, obviously the last year and a bit has been a huge change up with this product. We have our Lightlife Burger out there. There are competitors as well. But what I was more excited about was being able to get the actual grounds to work with, which is, again, just it's a replacement for a ground beef. And what everyone has to understand, and again, this is new to everybody, so everyone has to learn what this is about. Until you understand it, you're not going to work with the product. So the Lightlife, so the grounds look exactly like a grounds would be if you're buying in the grocery store in a 1 pound bag. But what I want to do is I want to actually show you what the product is to start with. And if we could go to the other camera there for a second, Jay. The Lightlife Grounds are actually, it's pea protein. And when I started doing this, my question became, okay, well, what is pea protein? Well, it's a yellow pea. And just to show you, this is what we're actually making it out of. So this is yellow pea. It is cooked, sort of sheeted out, and then it's scraped, and dried up and scraped back up. So you end up with this as the body of your grounds. From here, you're going to add in your oil, water, and your flavors to actually get the ground beef texture that you're looking for. But that is essentially the basis of this product. And that just lets people know where this whole thing starts. So we're going to look at the grounds. And just so you can see, this is the grounds. It comes frozen in blocks like this. I think there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's 4, 8. I think there's 12 to a case. But this looks just like ground beef now, and it'll break apart just like a ground beef will. You'll see in there's some coconut flakes. That's not going to add a lot of flavor to it, but it's going to add some great texture, and that's going to melt down. What we're trying to show you today is that be it Lightlife grounds or ground beef, you're going to get the same effect. So here's your regular ground beef, and beside it I've got the Lightlife grounds. I'm sorry the lighting's a little bit dark, but they're very similar. But when you go to mix them together, they're gonna handle the same way. You're gonna be able to make a meatball, no problem at all with the ground beef, and the same thing with the grounds. You mix this together, you're gonna end up with the same style of meatball. So the two side by side are gonna work exactly the same. The difference is gonna be is that when you cook these products up, ground beef as a rule has quite a lot of yield loss. With the Lightlife grounds, you get a better yield. So I started off here with 50-gram meatballs, and then I baked them off, got my internal temperature to 165, and then I did the weights raw and fully cooked product, and be able to see where the differences is. The ground beef started off at 50 grams. It went down to 33.5 grams. So we ended up with a 67% yield on that product. Whereas with the plant-based product, we started off with 50 grams, and we ended up with an 80% yield. So you end up with a larger portion. When you cut into them, you're still going to get the same texture as ground beef. The Lightlife grounds are going to be a little bit softer, but they hold together really, really well. So when you finish the product off, they're very difficult to be able to tell much of a difference there. So what we're dealing with now is any recipe that you have in your portfolio today, that's the ground beef one on that side. Any recipe that you have today, you're going to be able to substitute the Lightlife grounds in for. So you can actually have the same product going in. You're going to get that protein in there as well, but you're switching things up and getting a Lightlife, a plant-based product. We did the same thing just to show you how it works. I made a meatloaf. Again, just a smaller version of one, but it still has the same firmness as you would expect from a regular meatloaf. And it's going to slice off just beautifully. So it's going to have the same texture as the regular ground beef meatloaf will. And just to show you a plate for that, just put one plate right there. So we can have a meatloaf ready to go. So this product, anywhere that you have a ground beef, you can now have this. It can be done into meatloaf, into shepherd's pies, meatloafs. You can do this into a bolognese sauce. Same. If you're making a meat sauce, if you're making a ground beef one, now you can make a plant-based one. You're going to get the same results as far as the texture and the firmness of the product. But so anywhere you're going before, you can now go again with plant-based. But it's just a matter of everyone needs to see this once so they understand what they're working with. They know what they have coming in. The big thing with a product like this, much like ground beef, it has to be defrosted fully for it to be able to mix together properly. If it's not, the same thing happens with ground beef. If it's still partially frozen, it's not going to pad together well. Same thing here. If it's fully defrosted, you're going to have a product you're going to be able to mix together well. It'll come out beautiful. And that's our Lightlife grounds.
Thanks, Chef. That's a great explanation. And again, re-emphasizing how simple it is to incorporate plant-based proteins into your menu. Look at where you're currently using ground beef and sub in Lightlife grounds. Where would a little flavor of Italian sausage be fantastic? Use a lower saturated fat, still high in protein product with the Italian crumble. So just have a look through your menu cycle and see where I could possibly replace ground beef or sausage into a recipe or to fortify a recipe. And that's as easy as it is. Your clientele that you're serving will be familiar with the product. You've already been serving it. It isn't something that's foreign. It's easily digested. It looks the same, tastes the same, if not better. And that is the easiest way to incorporate plant-based proteins into your healthcare menu and meet any Canada's Food Guide targets that you've established within your menu framework to add plant-based proteins.
One thing I like to say about it too is, in fact, like so many of the other products that we have shown in this series and that we have in our portfolio, is that not every these products were not designed for healthcare, but they work in healthcare. These products are in pizza joints right now. They're in pubs. They're in restaurants. So this is not something that is strictly a healthcare product. This is what we're selling to everybody, and it works in healthcare as well.
Yes, it works fantastic in healthcare, actually, when you look at the nutritionals and you look at the ease of use in incorporating this into your menu. So it's very simple. Don't struggle with how can I add plant-based proteins into my menu to meet Canada's Food Guide targets. It's actually quite simple. So to circle back to your question, Christine, about acute care settings. These products absolutely work fantastic in acute care settings. Their texture is such that they work very well on retherm equipment. In terms of seeing that trend in adopting a vegan lifestyle, the first to hit within the segment, if not retirement, would be acute care. Well, you'll see a growing demand in therapeutic diet requests or diet orders that come through the kitchen, indicating that this patient is vegetarian or vegan. Either of these two products are great to have in your kitchen for that reason. The grounds are gluten-free, soy-free, allergen-free, so they're an easy way to serve anybody with any of those criteria that you get as a diet request coming into the kitchen. So they certainly are a fantastic product to use in acute care settings. One other thing I'd like to mention about acute care settings, last week, as some of you may know, was Canadian Malnutrition Awareness Week. There is a lot of work being done by various organizations in ensuring that malnutrition is identified quickly in hospitals, as it can be a huge barrier to healing within an acute care setting. So understanding that, the way you can easily fortify products with the Italian crumble, whether they're vegan or not, it's a great way to boost the protein, enhance the protein without a huge amount of food being added to a tray. So Maple Leaf is committed to being your healthcare protein provider. And as such, we're working on different projects to help facilities increase the protein content of food to ensure that their clientele are staying nourished. So stay tuned for exciting things on the horizon from Maple Leaf Healthcare.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Vanda. So are you seeing an increase in the use of plant-based items within healthcare?
We're seeing a lot more interest in plant-based items in healthcare, again, prompted by the Canada's Food Guide, which has become a catalyst to having these conversations with our healthcare customers. The sort of most interest, or the peaked interest, I would say, is coming from acute care. Again, those diet orders coming in, requesting vegan or vegetarian diets. So they're more compelled to accommodate versus long-term care settings where the seniors are not necessarily requiring a vegan diet, whereas hospital acute care settings are seeing this more and more. So the conversations we're having are more in that segment, but it doesn't mean that other segments are ignoring it, far from.
Well, and the same can be said about the street business as well. Everybody, for the last year and a half, we've been promoting all the plant-based products. It's been an education. It's getting all the chefs and the managers together to explain to them what this all is. I mean, again, we go back 4 or 5 years. We were back to a veggie burger that was just a whole bunch of vegetables mashed together. It has come so far, and we've all got to learn what that's all about. So once everybody understands, okay, I understand that that's going to work the same way, I think we're going to find that in more applications. Now we're seeing it in a couple of the national chains have actually gone there and have dipped their toe in a big way. But I think more and more, we're going to see more and more restaurants that are out there adding this on. This is table stakes now. Everyone's going to have this. And it's not about trying to address the vegan in the room. This is flexitarian. This should be part of everyone's diet, but it's a learning curve, and everyone's got to take these steps to learn what's happening.
For sure. Absolutely, Chef. In terms of what you see in diet orders coming through a segment, acute care would be first. They have to adapt to the request for a vegan diet if they so receive it. The flexitarian element, that consumer trend will absolutely eventually appear in healthcare facilities, just a little bit slower typically. I think for a message, for lack of a better term, to our healthcare customers out there, it's really easy to incorporate plant-based proteins into your existing healthcare menu by using very simple plant-based protein products that make it the transition seamless.
So you shared some great recipes with us using these products. Do you have additional recipes for these items?
We certainly do. We recently added 4 recipes to our website, which will be coming soon to Synergy On Demand as well. So there is a recipe for a meatloaf, a shepherd's pie, which we didn't really touch on, but really shepherd's pie is fantastic for long-term care, a bolognese sauce with the grounds, and a pasta casserole dish. So those 4 recipes are already on our website and are going to be loaded into Synergy On Demand as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Vanda and Chef James, for sharing this great information with us today. Join us next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will have Weston Foods joining us on the Virtual Kitchen Healthcare and Senior Living Edition. Over to you, Jay.
Wow, that's some amazing information. I'm speechless. That was an awesome demo, though, Chef. Just on showing those side by side, I think that's huge. And I saw some comments come through on that, and I think that was so important to see because, like you said, education's huge in this area. Very cool.
Yeah, everybody wants to know exactly. They want to know what's going to happen when they try a product, and this way, it's like, okay, now I understand it. It's going to work like ground beef. I can deal with that. So
the biggest thing too, I think people should just try it because it will blow your mind. Like on just giving it a try to see what it does. It's worth it, and just outstanding ideas here. So thanks again, everyone. And Maple Leaf, you guys rock all the time. And today I'm short on words today. I don't know what it is, but it rarely happens. But stay tuned. We have a ton of shows coming up on Sysco's Virtual Kitchen. This week we have McCormick. They're going to be coming back in and really showing you how you increase your value in your menus. We have our marketing team coming back tomorrow afternoon to share insights into pivoting your restaurant into different revenue streams, as well as Barry Schuster's back tomorrow night to show how you can pivot your restaurant into a ghost or virtual kitchen. Saputo's back on Thursday showing specialty cheese and making your burgers super cool for takeout and delivery. And then we also have Beyond Meat back for a late night show showing alternatives as well with plant-based foods. So it's a big trend out there, everyone. And thanks again, Maple Leaf, for everything you guys do. And we will see you soon, I'm sure. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, Jay. Thank you, Christine.
Thank